Maple Programming Guide, Chapter 13, Section 3. In this video, we'll show how to write code that describes components like buttons and sliders and their arrangement, and then inserts them dynamically into the interface. One way to create applications with embedded components is to open the Components palette and then simply click to add the component you're interested in. What we're going to talk about in this chapter is about writing programs that will assemble the components together and then do the insertion. In this simple application, I've created a matrix, and then I'm going to use the tabulate command to insert a table with the contents of the matrix. This is analogous to using the insert table interface and injecting a table. I can customize the table using this command by specifying a width and a fill color. Now I have a shaded background for the title columns, and the contents are in a more compact area. The second example shows the grading quiz command. If I execute this, I'm going to get several components inserted in the worksheet. So I have some checkboxes, some plots, and some buttons, and these are all tied together in an application that's interactive. I can choose these checkboxes and check my answer, and I get feedback. All of this is put together using programmatic embedded components. Let's look at the nuts and bolts behind the scenes of these commands. So to do that, I'm going to go to the Maple help, and I'm going to type in document tools. This brings up a whole series of document tools commands. Specifically, there's the canvas package, which we'll talk about later in a separate section, and then the components and the layout commands. So let's pick a particular layout command component, which is the combo box. Now from the help system, I can click this button, which will open the help page as a worksheet in my document, and then I can interact with it. So I'm going to scroll down to the example section. I'm going to execute the with command for the three different packages: document tools, components, and layout. I'm going to execute this command to define a list of three elements, A, B, and C strings. I'm going to define my combo box. So this is just an object, so to speak, a description of what a combo box might be. And then I'm going to use this command to wrap it up into a mini worksheet. So the worksheet contains a group, an input area, and a text field, and then it contains my combo box S. I use the insert content command to insert that mini worksheet. And see, I have a combo box with the three choices. Let me go back and modify this example. Ball and cat. I'll re-execute L. I'll redefine my combo box and embed it into a mini worksheet snippet. And when I insert that, now I have the new list of values. I can use the get property command to reference combo box 0 and get the value property. And in this case, it's ball. If I change the value field in the selector and then re-get the property, it is now cat. Let me show you a second example using the combo box. We'll just scroll down further in this example. So here we're going to define more of a complete application. So this is going to contain a plot and a button, and there's going to be some action code. So let's first execute the first command, which defines a 3D plot. So now I'm going to create a plot component. So we'll assign that to capital P. I'm going to define some action code. We'll talk about that in a second. So that's going to be what gets executed when you click the button. Here's my combo box. So it has elements X, Y, X, Y, Z, etc. And I'm going to name it combo box 0. So let's execute that. And then as before, we're going to generate a worksheet snippet. This time we have a group with the plot in it inside a text field, and then a separate group with the combo box inside. And each of these things needs to be inside its own text field. So let's generate that description, and then we'll insert what we've just defined. So what's going to happen here is when I click on this and change the selection, it's going to fire off the action code that we've defined and change the plot. So let's scroll up and see how that works. So here we can see the action code. So in order to show the action code, I'm actually going to insert it in a different way. The help pages define it as a string. I'm going to insert a code edit region, and then I'm going to take this value and copy it, Control C, and paste it in here, Control V, and then instead of it being a string, I'm just going to press Shift Enter there, get rid of that, /n, enter there, get rid of that, and get rid of the string. So I can instead do action code equals get property. And this is a theme here, so the code edit region is actually referenceable, and in order to find out the name, I can open up the left panel, see it has this name, code edit region 0, so I can extract the value parameter of that, and it is just the string. The benefit of doing it this way is that I can execute that command inside my worksheet. Now let me just clean up that one. So when I execute this code, there's going to be this error. And I'm anticipating that that was going to happen, and I wanted to do that on purpose so that I could explain something here. So this code references combo box 0. But if I come back down here and click on this property, I see that it's actually called combo box 2. So if I change this to combo box 2 and press enter, then the code is executed properly and it's changed to the gray shade. What's going on here, because I defined this combo box to have the identity combo box 0, but when Maple inserts it using the insert content command, it sees that from the previous example up here, we already have, so where's my Apple example? Here's cat. If I click on this, we see that that's already named combo box 0. So instead of inserting a component with the same name, Maple was forced to resolve that to a different name. And so the good thing is that it also resolves the action code. So there'll be only one plot 0, one combo box 0, which will get rewritten as combo box 2. So while you're prototyping this, and if you want to execute, you should probably think about using unique names. So I'm just going to go rename this to shaded 0, and then I'm going to rename this to shaded 0. And that'll just let me interactively execute this code that's in a code edit region. Oh, I haven't inserted it yet, so let me insert it. Let's execute from the beginning. Okay, so now we insert, this is combo box shaded 0 now, and now when I go back and execute this, it will reference the correct name and be able to change that property. This is generally not a problem if it's the only worksheet snippet that you've inserted into your into a new session. But when there's other components in there, you have to be aware of that. So one other thing to look at here is if I click on this, I can edit the select code, and it will, you notice that all of the code in here will have the component IDs as we've defined, and if they happen to change on insert, because the action code is part of the whole component system, it will rewrite those. Now, if you have external code that references hard-coded names, you'll need to find a way to resolve those. Let's go back to Chapter 13, Section 3, and see what else is in this section. So we've covered constructing a portion of a worksheet. So this is the same example I showed at the beginning, and this is the same quiz example. We went into a little bit more depth with the combo box. So here is an example that's very similar to the combo box, which creates a plot and a button. So let's look at the description of this code. So it's again loading the components, layout, and document tools packages. We're going to insert the content, and this is the content here. So it's going to be a worksheet that contains two groups, and the first group contains a text field that has a plot, and this is going to be a plot component of a certain size and with the ID plot 0. And the second group is going to contain a button with the caption new random plot, and the action here is to set the property of plot 0, set its value property to this plot expression, which creates a plot of a random polynomial. One thing to note here is action is a string, and inside that string we're referring to another string, so we can use the backslash to escape the quote inside the quotes. So let me execute that. So it inserts a blank area where the plot's going to be. I didn't give it an initial plot, so it's going to be blank. So when I click this button, it's going to generate a new random plot and insert that into the plot component area. So the last example in this section is the dynamically created tic-tac-toe application. And this is worth looking at in a little bit of a different light. So the framework of this example is that tic-tac-toe is created as a module. You'll see references to DT instead of the fully spelled out document tools. And that's just a shorthand. Rather than saying with document tools, it's using DT equals document tools. So the main structure is here we have module apply, and if you're familiar with modules, the module apply export inside of a module is the thing that gets called, if the thing that gets executed if you call tic-tac-toe as if it was a procedure. So it is going to create this worksheet with a text field that says tic-tac-toe, so that's going to be the heading title. It's going to generate a table inside that with 3 columns, and there's going to be 3 rows as well, and each row has a cell, and each cell has a combo box with 3 choices, dash, X, or O. And then at the bottom there's going to be another group with a button called reset, and a label called feedback. It's going to be initially empty. And in the module we're going to have something called a state variable, and we're just going to store the mapping. So when you insert something, you can output a table, and the table will map what you've originally set the identities to what the identities were when the components got inserted. So again, generally the mapping is going to be one-to-one if you're inserting only one set of components into a worksheet. If you're setting, if you're creating, say, 2 tic-tac-toe games in the same worksheet, then the second one is going to have all new component names. So you should go through the table with the original name to find out what the name was that got inserted as. So there's a few exports in this module. One is called select, and if you go back here and look at the action code for the combo box, so it calls tic-tac-toe select, and that's this function which gets a property and checks if it's a dash, and if not, then it records the position, whether it's an X or no. There's this check for winner procedure, and that gets called as part of the select function, so we can see if the game is finished. And then there's a reset, and if we look up back here at this button, so the reset button will have the action of reset. So there's another important topic in this is that it's using this state variable. We've snuck it in up here using the state component. So the way this works is we pass in a variable name and it gets filled in by reference with sort of an object. So we're going to also define fields XO, which is going to be an array initially filled to dash, and we're going to have another member called XMap. So we want to declare this state variable first or upfront in our description, so that gets executed and the state variable gets filled in, and then later we can use access that state variable, passing it into the various callbacks, and then we can maintain the state. This is especially useful if you want to save a document with all the components in it in a certain configuration, exit, then the next time you load the worksheet back, that state gets restored, so anything you've saved there will be accessible again. And here we can see, for example, in the select action, we're storing the values at each position in the XO array, which is part of the state. We can see that the state is being passed in as a parameter as we've specified in the various actions. We're passing it in as a parameter. Oh, that way we don't have to call getProperty on all of the 9 components every time to find out whether there's an X or an O there. We can also see that the XMap, which maps the component name that we've given it at description time with the component that actually got inserted. So this is just a table, and we look up feedback label, and it might resolve to feedback label 12. But that way we're setting the right property of the thing that got inserted. So once we're complete, we can execute our tic-tac-toe command. It will insert the grid. We can play our game now. And let me just quickly find a winning scenario, and there we go. X is the winner, and we can reset. So that concludes this section 13.3 of the programming guide. There are many more examples in the help system and some high-level commands, as well as the low-level building blocks that you need for building an application like this. Have fun exploring.